What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Backup Fantasy Sports. It is Wednesday, May the 4th. Be with you, 2022. And it is time to do a NFL draft review from the 2022 class. So I figured I'd bring back an old friend of the pod, Paul Banks. Paul,
Hello.
how's it going?
Howdy. It's all right. Quite
Yeah.
tired. New baby.
New dad taking a little bit of a break from his busy schedule to make some time for us over here. So what we're going to do today, I'll release this after 5 p.m. or whenever you work from home folk get off. I don't know. So today we'll just go through position by position for fantasy football, our favorite picks. We each picked out one guy from each position. And then I'm going to clear out for Paul to do some nerd draft stuff because he loves that. And then we might get to a little rookie draft here if Baby Banks lets us get all the way through the show. So, Paul, starting off here. Well, first of all, did you enjoy the draft?
I did enjoy the draft. It was quite enjoyable. Although, half the draft was spent taking care of the little baby. But other than that, it was pretty nice. I enjoyed, the little aspects. I guess instead of actually watching the main draft, I was just watching the Athletic Pod's coverage of it, which was really nice. Because they were like,
nice.
They actually talk about the players and talk about the scheme fits and everything, besides CSPN or ABC, which are kind of just talking about these like little stories about them.
So right up your alley, the Athletic
Yes,
podcast.
exactly. My wife was extremely unhappy about it. She's like, I don't even get to see the stage. This is so boring.
Yes, it was. Well, fortunately for me, it's all during the nighttime over here in Germany, so I just kind of wake up in the middle of the night and check what's going on, and then go back to sleep. It's give and take, but it worked out. So we will get this up and running here with some quarterbacks, with Kenny Pickett going in the first round to Pittsburgh. It was the latest a quarterback has been drafted since 1997, which is kind of crazy. And the last time only one quarterback was drafted in the first round was 2013 with E.J. Manuel. So hopefully this class is a little better than that one. After Pickett, there was no quarterbacks in the second round. And then in the third round, they started to fly off with Desmond Ridder going to Atlanta, Malik Willis going to Tennessee, Matt Corral going to Carolina. And then that was it for day 2. And then we had some guys going in day 3 here. But Paul,
yes,
who is the quarterback you want to talk about for real? You're a real life football guy. I am also a real life football guy, but this is also a fantasy podcast, so we will see the fantasy ramifications here.
Yeah.
But who is your quarterback to talk about right here?
I think it's Sam Howell. Because so I guess I'm prefacing, it doesn't seem like any of the quarterbacks have like a great shot at being viable. But maybe a little under the radar guy is Sam Howell, because Wentz is just not good. I don't know why people keep thinking they can fix him, because he is who he is at this point. He's gonna try and take the big play at all times. He's tough as nails. He'll play through injuries, but his play style, lends itself to a lot of injuries. So he's always going to have tweaked something, a pulled something, and he's always going to be kind of toughing it out and waiting to try and get the big play. And I don't know. It's just not good. So either Wentz is going to get hurt, or he's just going to get benched. They didn't invest that much into him, I think, like a third rounder or something. Like not much at all, or 2/3, something like that.
Not what the Colts invested in him just a year ago with those 2 first-round picks.
I was surprised the Colts got anything for him, but anyway. But yeah, no, I think Howell, he's talented. He was expected to be the first overall pick before the season even started, based off his 2020 tape, his performance there. But maybe that's just talking heads. And then 2021 was a little bit of a down year. But if you think about it, he lost basically all the talent around him. You know, he lost De'Ami Brown, who is a Washington Commander, I believe. Maybe I'm misremembering, or is he?
Is he a Packer? Why does he sound like a Packer to me?
I don't know. This is horrible podcasting, but let me look it up.
Yeah, no, that's okay. But also he lost Javonte Williams. He lost Michael Carter.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, De'Ami Brown, Washington Commander.
Okay.
So link him back up with De'Ami Brown, that little deep threat, that down the field kind of 50-50 ball guy. And so I think, he was not as good this year, but he just lost tons of talent. So, I know quarterback should be able to elevate the talent and all that, but you still need somebody to throw to. The only ones who can really elevate the talent are like the really elite quarterbacks, like Drew Brees or Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady at a time. I don't think he elevates people that much anymore. But the elite ones do, and it's rare to find an elite one. But I think Sam Howell could be a good quarterback. So he's got talent around him now because he's got De'Ami Brown, he's got Jahan Dotson, he's got Terry McLaurin. So that's two huge speed guys, quick shifty guys, and then a kind of a taller kind of 50-50 guy in De'Ami Brown. He's got Antonio Gibson. He's got a fairly decent offensive line. Nothing, which is all you really need, average. You just don't want to have the worst offensive line. And Scott Turner is a good offensive coordinator. He made Taylor Heineke look good. Taylor Heineke, yes. Doesn't have like otherworldly talent, but he's kind of a scrappy guy, and he made him look good. So I believe Scott Turner could make Sam Howell look good. So I think Sam Howell's kind of like a little under the radar little pickup that might turn into something in a few years.
I like the pick a lot. It's kind of, I know how much you love when podcasts get into stock talk, but it kind of seems like you're buying the dip here with Sam Howell, huh? Like, you were saying, like before the year, I think North Carolina were a top 10 team in the country in the preseason polls, top 15 for sure, I think. And that was mostly because of Howell and what they did last year. It was a disaster. I'm pretty sure they lost the first game of the season. It was just all downhill from there. It didn't really work without the weapons like you were talking about. And going to Washington, you're exactly right. Like he could be starting week 2 for all we know with how Carson Wentz kind of plays. Carson Wentz kind of turning into the Dane Cook movie. What was it? Better Luck Chuck, Good Luck Chuck. The Eagles now have Jalen Hurts. Well, they had Nick Foles, who won them a Super Bowl, and the Colts moving on to Matt Ryan, who will be a very boring but healthy quarterback at least. So we'll see if Sam Howell is going to be right there. I was looking on Fantasy Pros earlier today, and they have him as the QB 42 in Dynasty. Does that seem too low to you? Let's see here. So do a quick name game for you here. Would you rather have Sam Howell or Teddy Bridgewater?
I guess I'd rather have Sam Howell.
You're just kind of buying some. So what about
buying some upside there.
Okay, this is Sam Howell or Baker Mayfield in Dynasty.
I guess Baker Mayfield, because I think Baker Mayfield is close to what Sam Howell's kind of what I expect that Sam Howell would be, kind of that midline, somewhere 12 to 18, 12 to 20 type of starter.
Follow-up question: who plays more games in 2022, Baker Mayfield or Sam Howell?
That is a really good question.
Depends on how long Deshaun Watson's suspension is.
Yeah. I'll go Baker Mayfield because he's either going to play with the suspension, which I don't think so. I think they'll trade him, and then either he'll get traded, and I think he'll play for whoever wants him, Carolina or whoever. Yeah. Do you
think Sam Howell starts at least one game this year, though?
Yeah, definitely. I think so. I think either Washington's really bad, and they just see what we got in the rookie, or Wentz gets hurt, or both. And he starts. Yeah. Because Wentz is going to miss a game or two at least.
That seems pretty certain.
Yeah.
So while you went with the buy the dip guy, I feel like I might be buying high on Desmond Ridder. He's my guy. Kind of an older prospect, exploded as a senior in Cincinnati with 30 touchdowns, 8 interceptions in his final year. Got him to the college football playoffs. So, winners win, all those traits. And my reasoning behind him is kind of similar to yours with Carson Wentz, because Marcus Mariota, he hasn't been the epitome of health during his NFL career. He's been injured quite a few times. And I'm kind of thinking that if Atlanta starts off like 2-6, 3-5, and they see the writing on the wall this year, that they move to Ridder mid-season, because he's going to be on the same timeline as Kyle Pitts, the receiver they got, Calvin Ridley, if he ever shows up in a Falcons uniform again. So I'm wondering if Atlanta wants to hit the reset button a little sooner than they thought when they initially signed Marcus Mariota. And I think he's a good pick for Dynasty, because I know this is going to be painful for you to hear, but I think the Saints and the Bucks eventually have to hit the reset button and kind of build from the ground up. As much as the Saints want to push that off as much as possible, one day it will have to just have a little bit of a harder reset than they've done in recent seasons. And I mean, Carolina is a bit off. So I don't think it's going to be too long before Atlanta can get back in the playoff mix. It's the NFL, so things happen all the time. But yeah, I think I would be going with Ridder. I mean, I'm a little biased here. I just took him in our rookie draft in our Dynasty League that we are in together at the 14th pick in the first round. I only have Daniel Jones and Dak Prescott as my quarterbacks right now. So I was, just felt like a good spot. And I think I would expect him to over-under games for him at 4.5 this year. I guess 5.5 now. That's a 17-game season, but I don't mind him at all. I know, he's smaller school. Competition wasn't as high as some of these other guys, but I'm still in on Ridder, so feel pretty good about that.
Yeah, no, I like Ridder. I like him a lot. And I think it was Nate Tice said he comped him to Dak Prescott. He's kind of like that technician guy. And then if you look at his like athletic testing, he's more of like a kind of a straight line runner. He's not like a shifty runner, but he's fast. He's a little slight of frame. But I think he's really good. And I think, he's got the starts under his belt in college, so he has the experience. And then I think he has I think he's got enough arm talent. He doesn't have like a crazy arm or anything. I think
was
he's
just
a
watching
really good
some
quarterback.
Yeah, I was watching some highlights before we started the pod, and he can definitely like chuck it down the field. I mean, that's with some like college coverage and stuff, so the balls look a lot prettier sometimes in college. But I think Atlanta got a good one. I'm not entirely sure if I like any of the quarterbacks. Kind of what you were saying earlier. It doesn't feel like anyone really went up and got their guy. Like I know the Titans traded up to get Willis, but a third round to trade up in the third round is just not as encouraging. Do you dislike anyone in this class? I guess like Kenny Pickett going to Pittsburgh. Like if he doesn't beat out Mitch Trubisky in training camp, that's very worrying. I would think already.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like,
I don't think I'm a big fan of Matt Corral. Because I think his whole offense in college was just RPO.
Yeah.
There's something like 60% of the plays run were RPOs, which, you just can't do that in the NFL. RPOs are now they can be defended, Yeah. It was kind of a fresh thing in 2017, but now defenses know how to cover it. So, I don't think he will pair that well. And he's kind of a smaller guy, and if all he can do is RPOs as a smaller guy, I'm not 100% sure.
There we go. All right, so we'll move on past the quarterbacks. Not super exciting, but this next position is an exciting one with the running backs. First time since 2014 that 0 running backs went in the first round. So that it kind of was surprising to me because everyone talks about how running back value is going downhill, but I guess if you can get a running back on a 5th-year option and that kind of deal, like teams always like to keep the cheap contracts as long as they possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
But who you got here? Who is your running back you want to talk about?
James
Cook.
Cook.
Wait, hold on.
Oh.
Yeah, sorry. I was going to go through the rundown here. My bad.
Let's do it.
Brees
No,
Hall
let's do it.
went in the 2nd round. Kenneth Walker went to Seattle. James Cook, who you're about to talk about, went to the Buffalo Bills. Rashad White went to Tampa. Your boy Davis Price from LSU
yeah.
went to the 49ers. And Brian Robinson Jr. is going to be a weapon for Sam Howell at the Washington Commanders backfield. So, anyway. Maybe not a weapon for Sam Howell, but he will be a goal line option possibly.
He'll help him out somehow.
Yeah, he's definitely going to hit Antonio
assistance.
Gibson owners a little bit hard and around the goal line, I think, which another podcast for another day, but I'm very low on Antonio Gibson now.
Well, you got good value for him, so.
I did. I traded the 1.14 and a 2023 first-round pick to get Antonio Gibson off of my roster. So,
yes,
kind of, I'm in a weird spot in that league. I could kind of go for it this year. I could rebuild. I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, let's get back to your running back pick. James Cook went to the Buffalo Bills.
James Cook. Yeah. So I think, he's the younger brother of Dalvin Cook. He's not as big as Dalvin Cook, but he's a similar type of runner, that kind of like high cut, well, not super high cut, but like a one cut runner where he's kind of plants his foot and goes. Kind of like a, what do you call, what's his name? Nick Chubb is a similar type of runner. I think Adrian Peterson is also a similar type of runner, but, he's not any of those guys. But I think he's a serviceable back. And, the Bills, I think he joins one of the best, probably the best offense in the league this year. They're going to be passing all over the yard. They got a run threat in Josh Allen as well. So, saying that he might get vultured on the goal line by Josh Allen, but
Josh Allen can't pass to himself. He has to pass to someone.
Yeah, and I think the way that just the Buffalo running backs have just not been able to really put it together, although Devin Singletary was, a little better towards the end of the season. I think it's kind of ready for someone to take over. And they spent a 2nd-round pick on James Cook, so clearly, they like him enough, even though this was a little bit of a down draft, especially for offense. I think if he kind of shows out and he's kind of an experienced runner, he's got a lot of plays under his belt. He knows how to run in kind of a pro-ish multiple run style offense that Georgia had. I think he will be able to take that role over. And I think he'll just have a lot of opportunities really with the Bills offense. They'll be on the field. Their defense isn't bad. So their defense is pretty good. So they're not going to have to throw it around everywhere. So they can run, they can pass. They'll have a lot of plays. They'll have a lot of opportunities for him. And I guess the best thing is just, can he beat out the other running backs? And I think he can.
I think he may have more talent than the other running backs, but I'm not entirely sure if that's how Buffalo wants to use him. I think their GM came out after the draft and said that they imagine him as more of like their pass catching back, their third down back. And it kind of fits the narrative that they had in the offseason. If you just tuned out one day, like they had JD McKissick there, and he backed out at the last second. So it feels like they were still looking to fill that void. And like you said, Devin Singletary did look strong at the end of last year as Zach Moss began to fade for the Bills. But Cook is definitely interesting. I feel like he might be slightly overdrafted in rookie drafts. I can't tell. I know everyone, a big like storyline was like, oh, what if Buffalo can get like Brees Hall or Kenneth Walker? Like they're going to have that final piece to their offense that everyone thinks that they need. But I think they went cornerback in the first round.
Yeah. Yeah.
Shoring up the defense, which is always a good thing. And yeah, you were saying he probably can eventually beat out Devin Singletary and Zach Moss, but the problem those two guys have had in fantasy football is that Josh Allen is their quarterback. It's kind of the Cam Newton effect. I guess we should start calling it the Josh Allen effect, because Josh Allen's been a little bit better than Cam Newton. You can say it's been 2 straight years now of him being like a top 3 guy as a signal caller. So that will always limit any Buffalo Bills running back ceiling, unfortunately, until Josh Allen just gets told to not run the ball anymore.
Yeah.
Not sure if that is what Buffalo will ever want them to do. But right now in Dynasty on Fantasy Pros, James Cook is the 44th ranked running back. Not all of these are updated, obviously, but he's behind guys like Ronald Jones, Darrell Henderson, Khalil Herbert in Chicago, Kenneth Gainwell in Philadelphia. That doesn't seem entirely right, but I guess let's see. I mean, straight up in redraft this year, would you rather have James Cook or Devin Singletary?
In redraft,
PPR.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think I'd rather have James Cook at that point, because I think he's going to be a good pass catching option, like you said. He's kind of a speed guy, and with the way that Devin Singletary and Zach Moss have been played, it's just none of them have really like super impressed, and it's been several years now. So I think they're gonna hope, they're kind of gonna want James Cook to take over and kind of bring some life into that backfield, and maybe they'll become a little more multiple with some backfield pass catching, and maybe they'll flex him out to a little slot role at some times or something. Who knows?
Yeah.
So I think they view him as more of like a chess piece type guy that they could move around and help expand their offense a little.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do with Gabriel Davis this year. See if they move him more out wide, I guess, maybe like Emmanuel Sanders. I think that was just a 1-year deal he had last year. I don't think he's back with the team. So, and they drafted another receiver in the 5th round whose name is blanking on me right now. But yeah, James Cook could definitely line up in the slot, potentially, definitely coming out of the backfield, like that kind of. I mean, Buffalo they went toe-to-toe with Kansas City last year and showed exactly what they could do in the passing game. Yeah. My guy is a little bit of a cop-out here. Host of the podcast, I got to put this rundown together. I got to think about you. I got to worry about myself. So sometimes research comes at a premium. So I just went with the free space with Breece Hall going to the New York Jets. He can do it both. I mean, as a sophomore, he had 279 carries, over 1,500 yards, 21 touchdowns on the ground, 23 catches. And then as a junior, he pretty much did the exact same thing with another 20 touchdowns and 36 catches as a junior. He steps into a backfield with Michael Carter, which is going to be very interesting in fantasy. I'm hoping this is not the 2022 version of Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon already, because I am very excited about Breece Hall. I think if he can take that job, and if Michael Carter can kind of be the pass catching only back, I think Breece Hall can still provide some fantasy value. And I think the Jets definitely need someone to level out what they were doing. They ran the ball on 36.7% of their plays last year, which was the 3rd lowest in the league. So they definitely need to get a more balanced offense. If you watch his highlights, he's got the speed. He can get you some spin moves. He's agile enough. He definitely breaks tackles. And I think he would be he is the number 1 running back in rookie drafts right now. And I think he's going to be the number 1 pick in rookie drafts, because people love running backs in Dynasty. I think even with how weak the quarterback class is this year, I don't know if you agree with this, but even in a super flex league, I would take Breece Hall 101 over any of the quarterbacks. And I'm not sure when I would actually even take my first quarterback. Not as early as it went in our draft. I think Kenny Pickett went 104. Was that right?
I'd have to look.
I think I traded with one of our fellow managers in that league. So
Kenny Pickett did go 104.
yeah, so that was a little. I did not see that coming when I made that trade because I actually had the 104. So we will see. But yeah, you got anything to add on Breece Hall? He's already a top 20 back on Fantasy Pros and Dynasty formats. I can't tell if that just speaks to how weak running back gets kind of quickly, which is kind of scary. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't really have anything else to say. I think he's a good back. He's got the size. He's got the speed. He's got some explosive ability with his broad and verticals. He's not small. He's not huge. He's good size, 5'11", 217. So, picked round 2, pick 4, which is a premium pick, I think, for running backs these days. And I think he's just a really talented back, and I think I think he'll kind of take it on. I don't know how much of his upside will be limited by the Jets offense overall and all the players they got, because now they got a new running back, but they also got Michael Carter, but then they also have who is it? They drafted Garrett Wilson, right?
Yeah.
And then they got Corey Davis. They have Denzel Mims, who's apparently looked really good.
Elijah Moore as well.
Yeah, and Elijah Moore, of course. Yeah, everybody's favorite Elijah Moore. I forgot about him. So they're
definitely giving Zach Wilson the tools to be successful.
Yes,
I would say
100%.
So,
yeah, they are definitely giving him the tools to be successful. So I guess
this
it's
is
all on
always
Zach Wilson's
like-
shoulders. Yeah.
Exactly. It's kind of like what the Dolphins have done in Miami. It's like, all right, Tua, we got you Tyreek Hill. Now we can answer the question if it's like, are you the guy? So we will see how Zach Wilson does with all those weapons in New York. And of course, head coach Robert Saleh is from the 49ers coaching tree, where they love using multiple backs all the time. So there could be room for success there. I was disappointed Breece Hall didn't end up on my Texans. That would have been very nice, and he would have had that backfield all to himself. But unfortunately, my homerism cannot come out in this podcast. But as we move over to wide receiver, I have a feeling that I'm just going to have to clear out and let you try to justify what the Saints did here. As I think I saw it was Warren Sharp on Twitter had a graphic today showing all of how much it actually cost the Saints to get your guy that you're about to talk about. And maybe I'll show it to you after the podcast. We try to keep it PG here, but I don't know if you want to see that. But anyways, as
I know.
The 28 wide receivers went in this year's draft, and that was the lowest number of receivers drafted ever in the modern era, I believe. So that was
it was a lot.
Kind of nuts. There was still a ton of talent here. Drake London went 8th overall pick to the Atlanta. Garrett Wilson went to the Jets. Your guy here, Chris Olave, went to the Saints. Jameson Williams went to Detroit after they traded up with Minnesota. Jahan Dotson went to the Commanders. Traylon Burks went to Arkansas, and then there was just a ton of day 2 and day 3 guys, and we can't go through all of them. So, Paul, I'm clearing out. Here you go. Give me your soliloquy about your new fancy toy in the Saints offense.
Yeah, no, it's Chris Olave. He's good. He's kind of like a little jitterbug. He's athletic. He's fast. Let me see if I can pull up that relative athletic score. Just kind of always fun to look at. Now, one thing that everybody always says is, the track or the turf, I guess, at the Indianapolis Stadium was new this year. No one had run on it yet. So all the times were a little bit inflated, the 40 times. But, he ran a 4.39, which I think was initially hand timed at like a 4.27 or something. And so he's like,
right.
oh, yeah,
I remember waking up and everyone and their grandma had run a sub
Yeah.
4.3 at the combine.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, Tom Brady would have been under 5 on that turf, but they, yeah, he ran like a 4.39 or something, or he did run 4.39. I think it was like hand time 4.27 or something. So he only ran once. So who knows if he would have been a little bit faster when he ran the second time. But you can see it on tape. He's pretty fast. He's smooth. He is just a technician with his routes. Set people up with his vertical stem. He changes cadence as he is going up the route tree. He'll slow it down, speed it up, kind of do little head fakes, moving left, right, kind of just throwing all these corners off of him. And I don't think he actually has too big of an issue with press. He's able to kind of time his releases out that way to avoid the press, even though he is a bit of a smaller receiver. And I would say he's definitely a smaller receiver. He's only like 6 foot 187. So not the best, but it's okay. It's kind of a new world, All the rules are geared towards offense now, so it's okay. He doesn't have to worry about getting creamed over the middle of the field anymore.
Yeah.
But that being said, went to Ohio State. Michael Thomas was a mentor to him while he was at Ohio State. They've talked a lot, and they've already been posting on Instagram. They're working out together, so this is great. Maybe he'll get a little bit of that Michael Thomas competitive insanity, in the vein of the Michael Jordan, where you just it's impossible to be competitive enough for that guy. And so I think he's just a good fit for the offense too, because you got Michael Thomas. He'll be a lot of the underneath slant god, slant boy, I guess. He'll do all that stuff. He'll do the tough catches, but he can also do a lot of intermediate stuff. It's just Breeze really did not have the arm in those last few years, so they couldn't show it off. But Olave's got speed to go over the top, stretch the defense, do some really nice little routes over the middle of the field. But the good thing is he does not need to be a take the top off kind of guy. Even though he can do it, he doesn't have to be. So he's not going to 100% be relied on as a decoy, because they have Deontay Hardy, who most people probably know as Deontay Harris, but he changed his name last year. I think he took his dad's name or something like that. So he's now Deontay Harty. And he is a small kind of speed demon. And he will definitely be doing a lot of the deep routes majority of the time, or kind of the quick hitters, the little bubble screens, the little crossers, to kind of get him some yak opportunities. And speaking of yak opportunities, that is where Chris Olave kind of lacks with his slight frame. But I have faith that even though Sean Payton is gone, we still have longtime offensive coordinator Pete Carmichael with the Saints. And so we'll run, more or less a similar offense. And I think they can find ways to get Olave the ball without having to get creamed by some defensive backs or linebackers. And lastly, Jameis Winston, even though he can be a bit of a turnover machine, I think it was just 1 year, and he does still have one of the best kind of just deep balls in the league. It's not a 100% rainbow shot like a Kyler Moore or a Russell Wilson, where it loops in like a rainbow, but it's a good deep ball. He times it well. He's definitely got enough arm to hit it, and he'll throw it consistently. He'll throw it. So I think Olave definitely has some big play potential, and it's still going to be a good offense with Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara, Olave, Deontay, and everybody's favorite Callaway last year, Marquez Callaway,
Saw you just dropped in our dynasty league, sir. Oh, ye of little faith.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's like the sixth option now on offense, so we don't have room for that on our fantasy team.
Oh, okay. Well, that's fair. See, this is why I brought you on, Paul. Very smart. I've anointed you my personal draft guru. I just learned so much about Chris Olave. I love it. I don't watch a ton of college football, mostly just a U of H guy. So I know you are all about it. Although I'm interested to see how that goes with fatherhood in 2022. Or maybe you'll get more college football time because there'll be some action on a Tuesday and you'll just be cradling baby Banks and
Yeah.
maybe she'll love some action. Who knows?
Oh yeah,
Uh,
much to the chagrin of the mother.
yes,
Yeah, she
yes.
might. She might. I think it'll be pretty good.
Yeah, that's what we're hoping for over here. And because you just informed, like, gave such good information there, I'm gonna just slide over your whole love for Michael Thomas, and I'm gonna let that slide. I, I want to rip you for it a little bit, but uh, it's okay. As a guest on the pod, I will save that for after the podcast. Um, he
Thank you. I
is
appreciate it.
currently wide receiver 56 in Dynasty. That feels too
Mm.
low to me. I don't like that at all. So, what are we thinking here? Chris Olave or Christian Kirk in Jackson?
Uh, definitely Olave. I mean, Kirk has proven that he's an NFL receiver, but it he's not like been a world beater or anything out there. So I think you go with the upside in Olave.
Chris Olave or Juju Smith-Schuster in Kansas City now?
I mean, in Dynasty, definitely Olave. And I could see drafting Juju maybe in redraft, depending on what your wide receiver lineup kind of looks like. But Olave could work there as well because I think I saw some projections. I don't remember who made the projections, but basically Olave was something like, 50 to 60 catches, like 950 yards, and maybe something like 5 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns. So I think that's a fairly serviceable wide receiver 3 kind of territory. And so I think, he could be a good asset on your team.
Do you think he's going to be a better option in PPR? Do you think he's going to be a high catch guy, or would he be a better guy in standard where catches don't really matter?
I probably a better guy in standard just because Michael Thomas is on the team and he's just going to command a
Just
lot
for
of
his
those
rookie
balls.
year as he like grows
Yeah,
into the pecking order, that kind of thing.
yeah,
All right, good to know. And not a lot of people still play in standard leagues, but it's always good to know. These are
it is. It is.
these are things we have to think about sometimes. My guy, very popular on draft night, Traylon Burks out of Arkansas.
Ooh, yeah.
Um, Everyone wants to compare him to AJ Brown because of the trade. It is a similar, it's hard to not just compare them straight up. It feels a little too easy,
Mm-hmm.
but here's the but. No one else is in Tennessee. I mean, we are both listeners to the Ringer podcast, the Ringer Fantasy
Yes.
Football podcast. So we know that Bobby Trees is now in Tennessee,
That
but
he
he's coming
is.
off an ACL injury. And then it is literally no one. I think Dez Fitzpatrick was the third wide receiver I saw on their depth chart today. So Traylon Burks steps into a situation where the targets are up for grabs. They've got Ryan Tannehill, who I guess is throwing for his job now. I'm not even sure. Like,
Yeah. I think
he,
they still like Tannehill, but he's just not at that price. Maybe he
yeah, I
does.
mean, well, yeah, the price is hilarious, but I guess that's for another day. But
Yeah.
um, just quickly, would you take Burks or Robert Woods in redraft right now?
Oh,
Coming off an ACL injury, but this is a
yeah.
rookie. It's tough for me.
I,
The-
I think I'd still, once again, like with all decisions, it depends on who you already have on your team, who you got when you're there. But if just straight up, I think Woods will probably have the better season, but I wouldn't be surprised if Burks does because I think
yeah,
they're gonna give him all of those AJ Brown, overs and crossers and all that he
yeah. I
likes.
mean, watching the highlight tape on Burks is like the Arkansas guy was just throwing it up, and he was high pointed it every
Yeah.
single time, and he was coming down with all of those catches. And that's kind of what I mean. The easy comparison is AJ Brown, like big bodied
Hmm.
guy that would just go up and get it. But it does look like him on the tape. I can't lie. I'm not. I mean, I would rather have AJ Brown than Traylon Burks. I don't think that's going out on a limb there. But the problem I would have is, I mean, Bobby Tree's coming off the ACL, but he's also just as likely at this point, before training camp, before we get any information on what's going on in Tennessee, like, why would he not be the wide receiver one? Like, that is,
I don't know.
he can play all over the field. He did that in LA. Vrabel is a kind of an old school guy. He'll trust a veteran. They went out and got him, so they obviously wanted him. Just wondering if it's going to be a frustrating first half of the year for Treylon Burks. I can see a lot of people drafting him as a hype guy in draft season, and then by week 7, his best game is like 3 catches for 68 yards, and people are dropping him. But then he could be a good second half of the year guy in fantasy leagues this year. He feels more like a standard guy. I don't think he'll be like he could be a high target guy, but there's a lot to be shaken out in Tennessee, I feel like. And last year was weird because, Derrick Henry went down, so it's like, are they just going to go all the way back to going on the Henry Express and riding him?
Yeah.
The foot injury is scary. They might need to, manage his workload a little bit better. But yeah, I like Treylon Burks a lot. I would happily take him. Where would you rank him among the wide receivers that went in the first round? So Drake London, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Jameson Williams, Jahan Dotson, Treylon Burks.
For dynasty purposes?
Give me redraft and dynasty.
Oh, okay. Well, redraft, I think that is tough. I think he's.
Does he have to be behind Wilson or behind London? Because
I think he does have to be behind London. Yeah, I think London's going to be number 1, and then Olave is very close behind him, and then it's kind of like a hodgepodge of like Jahan Dotson, Garrett Wilson, and Treylon Burks, and then I think Jameson Williams is behind because he got injured.
Yeah, he tore his ACL in the national championship,
so he's just not going to play for a while. Yeah, he's kind of in that cluster, and I think I would put him like maybe 3rd or something in dynasty, which would be like ahead of Garrett Wilson because I just don't trust the Jets, and ahead of maybe Jahan Dotson as well, just because I don't trust Washington either just have, because like even Terry McLaurin, who had a great rookie season, really hasn't been super duper like everyone expected for the past like 2 years.
Yeah, so I think in redraft and dynasty, Drake London is in a tier all by himself. Would you agree with that right now?
Yes. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. He feels like the guy. And even though I did draft Garrett Wilson, I don't know. I'm still not sold on his walk-up during the draft. It was concerning. He didn't look as jazzed as he should. There was just a weird vibe right off the bat. A lot of people could get that going to the Jets. Can't blame them there. But
no.
Yeah, I think. Would you say that? So you can take off your Saints tinted glasses here real quick.
Yes.
Would you have Chris Olave closer to Drake London or that other cluster of wide receivers that we were just talking about?
Oh,
like Treylon Burks,
yeah,
Jahan Dotson.
I think for dynasty, I'd have him closer to the cluster, but for redraft, I'd have him closer to London.
Interesting.
I think because
are the Saints going to throw that much this year? They're going to.
I think they'll throw more for sure. I think it was the offense was just you couldn't throw. Last year they had
Jameis went out, so
yeah, Jameis went out, and they just had no pass catchers at all, and then it was just a bad situation. But I think Olave, it's like the one thing that you can really improve on when you're a wide receiver is your route running. And so if he's already kind of at peak route running ability, does he just sustain that like super high level, or do other people pass him who potentially have more gifts in terms of size and all that? And it's just something to think about in terms of dynasty.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then final position here, we do not have to spend a lot of time on this. There's
No.
not a lot of excitement going on here, but tight
No.
ends. 4 tight ends were drafted through in the first 3 rounds of this year's draft, and it was the fewest since 2016. Who you got here?
Yeah, not a good draft at all. Greg Dulcich. He's definitely not a blocker. He can't block. He's not even that big of a tight end. I think he's like 240 or something. So, you'd like to see him put on maybe 10 pounds. Maybe he'd be a little bit better of a blocker. But he's a runner. He can sprint down the seam. He'll catch some balls. He can do a lot of that stuff. And so I'm a bit of two minds about this. It's a little funky for me because Russell Wilson traditionally has not made like great use of tight ends. They've been okay in offenses with him, but the Shanahan offense, does have a great use of tight ends. And I believe, it was 2 years ago, the Green Bay offense, just kind of an offshoot of the Shanahan offense. Robert Tonyan, the Onion, he had a pretty good year. And so I think I could see Nathaniel Hackett, who has been in a lot of different offenses, but, most recently was in Green Bay. And I think I could see, if Russell Wilson allows it, because I think they're going to run the Russell Wilson offense, I could see a lot of more boot actions, nakeds, all that type of stuff, and with some overs, some kind of deep crossers or deep overs that Dulcich would run, like you'd fake a wide zone handoff to the left or something, and Dulcich is in line to the line on that side, and then he kind of, does a little fake block because he doesn't know how to block, and then he'll do a kind of like a deep over, and then Russell Wilson will roll out to the right and kind of hit him with that deep moonshot and get some yards. I could see that happening, but once again, it's just not a great tight end class in terms of like fit or talent or anything.
I think the main question people would have regarding Denver drafting him is, how much is this going to affect Albert O? His stock was going way up without Noah Fant there.
This is true.
People were head over heels. Everyone was like, ooh, Albert O. This is going to be great. And then Denver went out and drafted another tight end. I mean, Albert O is the reason that Noah Fant really never hit his ceiling in Denver. He's now in Seattle. So I'm a little worried. It's a whole new coaching staff, but like you were mentioning, like the new head coach coming from the Packers, they didn't really use their tight ends all that much. Robert Tonyan, the Onion, like great season in 2020, but it was the ultimate outlier. I think. I did like a write up on him last offseason, and he had like 11, or he had double-digit touchdowns and 50 catches on 60 targets, and it was like that's been done 3 times in NFL history. It was something insane. So yeah, I mean, in Dynasty, I mean, we have a 14-team Dynasty league that goes 4 rounds, so I definitely will see Greg here getting drafted by someone.
He'll get something. Oh yeah.
Yeah, in our league, but I wouldn't be super excited. Just like I'm not super excited about my guy here, Trey McBride, going to the Cardinals. He could learn under Zach Ertz. He could pass or get catches when Zach Ertz eventually leaves, but Max Williams is really the main blocker there. He even had a couple of high days in the early 2021 season because the Cardinals were desperate. So Trey McBride's probably going to get a redshirt year, I would assume. Not really going to do anything. The DeAndre Hopkins news maybe changes something. Like maybe he can surprise people out the gate a tiny bit. But I wouldn't be putting a lot of stock in him either. Speaking of Robert Tonyan, the Onion here, Paul, he is Trey McBride comes in as tight end 28 on Fantasy Pros Dynasty, 1 behind Robert Tonyan. Would you rather have McBride just for the upside, or just? I mean, Green Bay doesn't have a lot of passing options there. Are they going to go back to Tonyan this year?
I'd probably go Tonyan. I mean, Zach Ertz just signed that extension, so
Yeah,
they
true.
clearly like him. I think McBride is more just like get a depth piece, get another option on offense, see what he does.
I think it was on the CBS podcast when they were doing their draft recap. They were saying that Trey McBride is just 2022 Cole Kmet. So just like by 2023, people will, or I can see a world next offseason where we are doom scrolling through Twitter and all of the fantasy football analysts are just calling for Trey McBride to replace Zach Ertz. And it's like, well, Zach Ertz is still kind of good. He's like just like they were with Cole Kmet and Jimmy Graham this time last year. And I mean, Cole Kmet's exciting and all, but Jimmy Graham was still there and just still hanging around. So
yeah,
but like we were saying, tight end's not that exciting this year. So just to recap our picks here, at quarterback, Paul went with Sam Howell. I went with Desmond Ridder. Running back was James Cook and Breece Hall. I took the free space on that one for sure. At wide receiver, you went with Chris Olave. I went with Traylon Burks. And at tight end, you went with Greg Dulcich. Did I say that correctly?
That is correct.
Okay, I just called him Greg a couple of times while you were talking about him because I was like, I'm not sure how to pronounce that last name. And I went with Trey McBride. But now it is, I think this is the whole reason you even came on. Just in the rundown here, I just have it called unlabeled Paul's Nerd Draft Corner.
Yes.
So you have a team that you want to talk about, or we didn't really talk about this beforehand, but I was just you go ahead, go for it.
Well, yeah. So like I think I just want to throw out like a couple day 3 running backs. I think that could be interesting. So just Zamir White, he's the other Georgia running back. He went to the Raiders. And the Raiders recently did not exercise their 5th-year option on Josh Jacobs. So this is his potentially last year. And if it is, then I think he's got a pretty good replacement in Zamir White, who did have 2 ACL tears in college, I think on both knees. So one on each knee. But he was a top 10 recruit out of high school. He was like 5th, finished 6th in the 100 meters at his 2016 state track meet. So he is fast. He's fast and he's powerful. He's well built. If you look at the NFL.com analysis on him by Lance Erline, kind of projects him as a Marion Barber type runner. So he's that kind of physical guy. He's the thunder to someone's lightning is what they put here. And I think, that's a pretty good replacement for Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs doesn't catch a lot of balls. He's kind of between the tackles type of guy, good runner. So, I think in Dynasty, he is an interesting pickup, and I think he could turn into something down the road. He's the only thing you got to worry about is the 2 ACL tears. But who else had 2 ACL tears in college? Tell me.
Oof.
The one in
running back?
Yeah, running back. This is a while back. Several years ago. I mean, there's probably several that have had it, but this one is the famous one.
I am blanking. You're just going to have to...
Frank Gore.
Oh, well...
Frank Gore tore his knees up in college.
I mean, Paul, we're getting older. I mean, we're both 30 now, but were we even alive when Frank Gore was in college? I don't even... how old is he anymore? But
this is true. He was in college in the 1880s.
Yes.
Yeah. And then the other one I was thinking running back was like Dameon Pierce, Texans.
Yeah. Homer alert.
Yeah.
I don't have a sound effect for that, but yes.
Yeah, you need the horn. But no, I think Dameon Pierce, he's not like the fastest running back or anything, but he's solid. He's well built, 5'10", 218. He's a senior, went to a good school in Florida. He can catch the ball. Nothing, he's not really like a pass catcher, but
never got a full workload at Florida, right? Like I can't tell if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Like
yeah, that's true. But I don't think he'll get a full workload in with the Texans either. He's kind of like, because the Texans,
Got to
if
beat
they
out
follow
Rex
that,
Burkhead somehow. So
yeah, if the Texans follow that Patriots ideal of, multiple running backs, I think he could become one of those running backs. Perhaps he's a Ramondre Stevenson or something. I mean, he's a 4th-round pick. He's kind of a dart throw in Dynasty, but I think there's something there because there's opportunity. And so
yeah,
that's something
it's
interesting.
whenever you talk about like Dynasty in terms of fantasy football, like I think a lot of people just love falling in love with these day 3 picks in good situations, and they can rattle off all the guys that were exceptions to the rule, but they are exceptions. I just don't know. While I mean, I'm a Texans apologist here, but like he has the opportunity, obviously, to take over that backfield, but day 3 guys don't usually pan out, and it could be exception to the rule here, but it's always tough to. I'm thinking. So we are at pick 206 in our draft right now. I believe a certain guest on this podcast right now is on the clock. I did send him a trade. He is ghosting me.
Yeah. Well, as you know, I am not the only owner on this team, so I have to confer with everything.
That is true. That is true. But Dameon Pierce already went at 2.1 in our draft. I'm not sure how I feel about that. It is a 14-team league, but we still had Mechie, Robinson, Spiller. Like there's some. We got David Bell for the Browns still on the board. Like while I am all for running backs, I'm not sure if I would have gone there at 2-1. Like maybe you could have taken him a little bit later, but we'll see.
You could have. But running back is a premium, so you got to pay the price.
It sure is in this league. I just traded one away for 2 first-round picks, I guess.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Okay. So then the other thing I was kind of thinking about was the the Ravens draft was interesting. So it seems like they're really doubling down.
Breaking news. I think this is the 74th podcast to talk about how good the Ravens draft was. How do they keep doing it? This is insane.
They just don't care about needs, I guess.
Anyway,
everything I've heard. They just don't care about needs.
Yeah.
But yeah, continue. So I think they drafted 2 tight ends. I forget what their names are. They added Tyler Linderbaum as their center. And so, from a fantasy perspective, they traded away Marquise Brown. So I guess Devin Duvernay, UT guy, he's a speed guy that could replace the Marquise Brown effect there. Rashad Bateman is there. He's more of a physical kind of intermediary type receiver. And so if those are like their 2 main receivers plus Mark Andrews, of course. So I guess it would go Mark Andrews, Bateman, then some semblance of J.K. Dobbins, Devin Duvernay, and whoever else they got. Are they perhaps going to go back a couple years to like really, really more of a running team, kind of like that 2020, 2019 era where
Lamar Jackson MVP.
Yeah, exactly. Because they've got Mark Andrews, they've got that other tight end who's like a full-on blocker. I should have wrote his name down because I know he's not a pass catcher, he's a blocker. And then they draft 2 more tight ends. So I'm wondering like what kind of a team they're trying to build. Maybe they saw what the Eagles did last year, and they want to go back and say, hey, no, we are the original Eagles, and we're going to rush the ball. So perhaps this year, this is a breakout year for J.K. Dobbins. This is, another just really good year for Lamar. Yeah, we got Gus the Bus. So I don't know. I thought it was interesting the way that they added 2 tight ends and a center, and they traded away their deep threat, and they didn't replace him.
Maybe it's just because it's May the 4th day, and it's everyone on social media is unleashing their Star Wars hot takes, and I think I've just been seeing like, Revenge of the Sith is the best Star Wars movie. Like Attack of the Clones, not as bad as you think, but maybe this hot take nature has gotten into me. But this is more of like a lukewarm take in May, but like Mark Andrews, tight end 1 incoming season. Like it's coming back, and Lamar Jackson is. Let's go check out these. I'm not very good at navigating the Fantasy Pros website right now, but Lamar Jackson in Dynasty is the QB5. In startups last year, or 2 seasons ago, he was QB1. Yeah, Lamar Jackson all day in redraft in 2022, I think. But definitely. You should forget about me saying that in about 4 months when we do our main league draft for me. So I know you're new father, so you can take it or leave it, but you got time to do a quick back and forth rookie draft?
Yeah, let's do it. Can I trade out of this draft to next year? Is that possible?
No, you cannot.
All right. Well, if that's the way it is, then I guess it is.
Yeah, and we'll go linear style. We won't do snake draft.
Okay.
So and we'll just do PPR, 1 quarterback, and then no quarterbacks will get taken. So that'll be a little bit more exciting for everyone. So
okay, perfect. PPR 1 QB. All right, so am I starting or you starting?
You got it as the guest.
All right. Well, I mean, it's kind of boring, but first pick, Breece Hall. It's just too valuable a position, and he's the only one that's going to get some real play. So, Breece Hall.
Okay. I like it. I mean, I don't, because, obviously, I'd love for him to be there for me. I'm going to lean into PPR here and go Drake London. We didn't really talk about him all that much. We did talk about Desmond Ridder, but no Calvin Ridley. Kyle Pitts is a pseudo wide receiver there, but everyone, I think, Zacchaeus was actually the wide receiver one before. Olamide Zacchaeus, I believe.
Olamide Zacchaeus or something. Yeah, I think he was.
So I think Drake London is London's calling, I believe, is what many a fantasy team name will have on their homepage this year.
I think so yes.
Yeah, but so back to you here.
Yes. Okay. Well, then if you went Drake London, I got Breece Hall already. Probably I think the next best pick. Oh, it's a little tough because you're wondering about opportunity, and I never trust Seattle, so it's hard. Do I want to pick Kenneth Walker? I think maybe the third best pick. I think it would still be Kenneth Walker. I think just because of that running back premium. It's just
nice.
hard.
Not worried about Rashad Penny or
no.
Chris Carson.
No. I'm not. Chris Carson might not play football anymore.
Yeah,
he's really hurt.
They are not the shining example of health in a running back room. So if Kenneth Walker can stay on 2 feet and come to practice every day, I think he's got a great shot. So wow, you have a very nice running back room already established in your rookie. And now I can't tell if I need to play the board and just take a wide receiver here. I feel like you already kind of got 2 of the best 3 players. That's how this would work with only 2 people doing this. So I'm going to go, you know what, here as I'm going Jameson Williams. I'm taking Jameson Williams with the second pick, or my second pick here. Full on upside. As much as we all love talking about Amon-Ra, St. Brown, the day that Jameson Williams steps on Detroit Lions practice field is the day he becomes the Lions' best receiver. So I will wait patiently for that first 8 games or 10 games or What do you think he's going to get put on the PUP list? Like, would that just be the easiest thing
Uh,
for them to do?
Probably. I guess
Yeah,
so. Yeah, because I think I saw somewhere he wouldn't come back till October or something.
October,
So
right? So that would be like
yeah, yeah, it'd be
8-ish,
8-ish
9-ish
weeks.
weeks. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'll go Jameson Williams, take the upside. The Lions obviously love him. They traded all the way up from 32 to get him.
Mm.
So, all right. Who's your
Yeah.
third pick?
Third pick, I think. I think what we're gonna do is like just give me a slice of that Kansas City offense, and I want Sky Moore.
Whoa, we didn't even talk about him.
Yeah, I know. But I think, it's just Mahomes is so good. And um oh man, I can't even remember their tight end. Kelsey.
Travis
He's not
Kelsey.
gonna play forever. Yeah. So, maybe he's the new hotness. But the Kansas City Chiefs also had like a really
Where do
poor
you
track
think
record drafting wide
Sky?
receivers.
Yeah, I mean, where do you think Sky Moore fits in that off? Like, does he get the Tyreek Hill role, or like, what are we gonna be
I
looking at here?
I honestly have no idea. Maybe, yeah, maybe he gets the Tyreek role. Although, Tyreek is a unique player.
Yeah, he's a one of one kind of deal.
Yeah,
So
it's just hard to say. So I don't know. I think it'll just
it's probably just
we'll
good
just
news
have
for
to see.
Travis Kelsey that Tyreek Hill's not there, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, if
Yeah.
Mahomes is just gonna lean on the guys he trusts, like Juju's new in town, Sky Moore's new in town.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it could be great news for CEH. He might get more
Mm-hmm.
work in
Maybe.
the passing game. Maybe he'll earn that trust a tiny bit. Unless it's Mecole Hardman season. Is it time? Is it finally giving time? No? Okay.
I don't
We're
think
giving
so.
up? Okay.
I think
Okay.
we're giving up. Yeah.
Um, well, since you finally stopped taking a running back,
Yes.
I'm just going to consolidate my wide receiver room here. I'm going to take Garrett Wilson. So,
Oh, all right. All right. It's a good
despite
pick.
his strange draft walk up,
Mm.
I I do like what New York is doing on the offensive side of the ball. I think who was it? Ben Solak on the Ringer
Mm-hmm.
NFL
Mm-hmm.
Draft podcast was just talking about how we seem to be forgetting that the Jets had the worst defense in football last year. But that's okay because that means that there's going to be a lot more throwing going on in New York, which could be good for Michael Carter as a kind of trickle down effect there. So we'll see if that affects Brees Hall at all. But
Mm-hmm.
Garrett Wilson, Ohio State, like he was a monster there last year.
Yeah.
So
That's a good pick.
yeah, go
Yeah.
for it.
So
Your final pick.
oh yeah, this is my final pick. You know what? I think I'll scour the waiver wire and free agency for a quarterback, and just I gotta pick him. I'll go Chris Olave. I
There you
think.
go. I was
Yeah.
about
I
to.
mean.
Thought you were gonna leave your guy off the board here. It's like, oh my
No,
goodness.
couldn't do that. He's a safe pick. He's got the route running ability just built in, so he's gonna get open, and if he's open, a half decent QB will find him, and I think he'll just have a long career. Even if he's not going to be a superstar, he'll definitely have a long career. And so it's a good thing to have some
There
certainty.
you go.
Yeah.
Unlike you, I will not leave my fate at quarterback to the waiver wire. I will go zero running back in this little rookie mock draft since you took the two bet. I'm tempted to take James Cook, but like if I can just get JD McKissick off the waiver wire in the veteran pool, I'll just do that for now. I'll worry about James Cook later once he beats out Devin Singletary. So I am going to go with Kenny Pickett. I'm going to. The Steelers have about the same number of head coaches as they have had quarterbacks in the franchise history. They just do not pick guys that they don't see being there for a long time. So Kenny Pickett, small hands and all. I know but I like Najee Harris is there, Chris Claypool, Deontay Johnson.
Deontay Johnson. They also who'd they draft? Calvin Austin and George Pickens.
Yes, exactly.
So they've got a loaded wide receiver room. So I think it'll
Exactly.
be really interesting. Yeah, I think that's a good. I think he'll be okay. I mean, he's got a super high floor, so he's definitely not going to lose you any games. I just don't know if he'll ever be a top 10 QB. But
I
with
realized
those
I just
wide
called him
receivers,
Chris Claypool, not Chase
oh, oh
Claypool.
yes,
Yes.
he's
So
gonna roast you on TikTok soon.
probably. Yeah. So is he's the new Steelers wide receiver on TikTok now that Juju has
Yeah,
left the
yeah,
mantle.
yeah.
Oh man. Well, Paul, thank you for coming. My anointed draft guru making
Oh yes,
his
thank you.
return to Backup Fantasy Sports. Obviously, good luck with this draft that we are in right now, and
So
good
be
luck
making
with
a
the
pick
new
soon.
baby. It's exciting times. I expect that's why you're so well informed. You're just baby in one hand and scrolling through mock drafts on the other. So now just know everything about all of these
Yeah,
prospects that are coming in.
yeah. All I do is listen to podcasts all day. So
There
yeah.
there you go. Yeah. Baby Banks is going to be the new Todd McShay. So,
Yeah, hopefully with better hair.
yes, exactly. Well, once again, thanks for coming on, Paul. That was a lot of fun. And for you guys listening, it was another episode of Backup Fantasy Sports. You can follow me on Twitter at you in or you out. And Paul, what's your Twitter handle again?
Oh
You got
yeah,
that
it's
weird
just
one.
Berserker P. I don't know. I made it in high school. It's just BZERKAP.
There we go. So give Paul a follow if you want to see him get owned by some prominent NFL draft guys every once in a while that he asks a question here and there. And you can like and subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, Apple, Google, all those fun places. And I will tweet out the link when this gets edited. Last year we did this, Paul, and
Mhm.
the audio was so bad with 4 people on that it made me give up on podcasting for almost a whole year
Oh,
because it was so
oh no.
frustrating
I'm
trying to
sorry.
edit everything. So now that it's just the two of us, I'm hoping it's a lot easier this time.
Hopefully.
And I'll give you that tag whenever I tweet it out. But
All right.
thanks to Paul for coming on the show, and thanks to you guys for listening, and I will talk to you next time.